Okay, I think we got cut off on the last video. So this should be the last video of chapter 3. Okay, don't forget to take the notes. So again, if you want to make changes to the connection of your adapter, let's say you want to set it up as um, either through DHCP or a static IP address, you right click on it and then you can go to properties. Right? We do that a lot in class. You go to TCP/IPv4, properties. This button says obtain an IP address automatically. That means your computer will automatically connect to a DHCP server and get the IP address configuration from there. And remember, there's always a tab that comes up here that says alternate configuration. So if your computer does not find a DHCP server, it will immediately go to the alternate configuration. And most likely, if you haven't touched this, it gets the PIPA address, the automatic private IP address, an address that is starts with 169.254. So if you ever type ipconfig and you get the IP address 169.254, that means your computer did not find the DHCP server for whatever reason. Okay? Again, we'll play around with this a lot. You can use the Netstat command as well and the NS lookup to look at the DNS. So this is important. Please take a picture of this. By the way, you can write, all the pictures that you are screenshots. You can put them on one document. You don't have to have them on separate document if you don't want to. Just submit that one document for chapter 3. Or you can do it per if you want to. Okay, the network resources. You have to follow some rules in terms of the names. I think that's the most important part of it, this right here. The server message block that is used to share network resources, but you can't just type any file that you want, like the name. You can't use question marks and things like that when you're creating a name. And any name that follows a $sign, that file will be hidden, just to let you know. Okay. Remote desktop, if you want to access your computer from anywhere, so you can run the remote desktop. So you will type in the name of the computer or the IP address, your username, and it will ask you for an IP address, and you'll have access to your desktop remotely. All right, so you should be familiar with that. I mean, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Excuse me. Okay, with the Windows server, again, this is a completely separate class, but the Windows server will be set up, we'll create roles for it. It'll have the domain naming services. This is the one that when you type in a name like www.microsoft.com, it will find the destination IP address for you. The dynamic host configuration protocol, this is your server will be able to lease IP addresses, source IP addresses. So again, the DNS gives you the destination IP address. The DHCP gives you the source IP address. Terminal services, network controller, Hyper-V. This is equivalent to VirtualBox, the hypervisor, give you virtualization, and so on. So we'll take a look at these, not in a lot of details, but in other classes we'll cover, FTP, file transfer protocol, the hypertext transfer protocol. This is the one that transfers files, HTML files from a server, from a World Wide Web server to your browser. But that data is transferred in clear text. S is the one that you want to use because that data is encrypted while traversing the network. So if anybody is eavesdropping, they won't be able to figure out what your data is. So it's very important that you connect through HTTPS as much as you can. I don't think there's any place where you can connect through HTTP anymore. All right, so we'll play with all of these labs. We're going to do all of these labs. Okay, now let's take a look at Windows security. The Netstat command is used to look for inbound and outbound connections that are not authorized. This is going to tell you, you're scanning to see if there's any ports that are open. A port is an application that allows each application, such as an email, for example, has port number 25. If that is open, that means data can go in and out of your computer through port number 25. Port 80 is HTTP. If that's open, data will go through into your computer through port 80, and so on. So Netstat will allow you to see if there's any ports that are open that they're not supposed to be open, or vice versa. Okay, so type the first two bullet points for Netstat. Okay, so there are more things that you could do. I mean, you could type Netstat -ABNO, and that will give you with some administrative privileges. So you can actually check to see the TCP connections and how they are, if what they are running or not, if they are listening to the ports and so on. Anyway, the event viewer is very important. Every time an action happens on your computer, this is like a logbook that keeps track of everything that happens. So if, let's say, if somebody came in and told you that your computer is acting funny from last night when they installed the applications, you can go to the the event viewer, go into the application and say, and it will tell you, it started acting funny at the time you installed it. Because every event that happens on your computer, downloading, uploading, Windows applications, any security, it's always logged in. But the only problem with the event viewer is you have to go and analyze the data yourself and figure out if there is an issue or not. So please write this down. I need you to know. Again, you can always do that from the search. You just type event viewer and it will come up. So write this down. Event viewer, the log history of application security and system events. Okay. Update management. Okay. This should automatically be. If not, please do that. So you have to harden your PC. Make sure that your PC is up to date with the patches. Okay. Local security policy. Okay, on your computer, if you have multiple users trying to use your computer, make sure that you have an account policy, passwords, minimum passwords, when they can be, for example, retired, and you have to reset your password, periodically, every maybe 6 months or so, disabling accounts, and so on. All of that, you do that in here. So visit this and take a look at it and see what you can and cannot do. All right, so write this down, especially if you have multiple users trying to use your computer or using your computer at the same time. Okay, Windows Defender is the guy that does the, the antivirus program that comes automatically with Windows. So write this down, at least the first letter, but it takes care of everything for you. You don't have to worry about viruses, adwares, spywares, or anything like that, as long as you keep it up and running. All right, so you can access the Windows Defender, make sure everything is green, has been updated and checked. If not, every once in a while, go and run a scan. You should be okay, because otherwise, every time you download or upload anything, your computer will automatically, it's running by default. The Windows Defender also has a firewall. All right, make sure they are all up and running. The domain, the private, and the guest. Sometimes you may, you can change the configuration of a firewall. We'll have a lab to do that. For example, by default, the Windows Defender firewall will, when you ping it, when you're trying to check a computer that is not connected to the network, the other computer will, firewall will block them from replying. And that could be an issue when we're doing labs. So sometimes I ask the students to either shut these down so we can have for testing purposes and then bring them back up. Or you can change that specific rule within the Windows firewall to allow you to ping. And the reason they don't want to create, the reason it's by default enabled, to block you from sending out replies is because they don't want to do that denial of service, the ping of death. Okay, so that ends the chapter. I hope we covered everything please read, go through all the slides as much as you can. Don't forget to submit what I asked you to do. And do as many of the labs you do. It's very, very important that you have access to Windows laptop or desktop and do these labs. If you are going to be a system administrator, and even if you just desk help, before you know anything about cybersecurity, you need to know how to operate a basic computer before you can secure it. So this chapter is very, very important. I know we didn't get into a lot of details. We'll do that when we're doing the labs. We'll try to do as many of the labs as we can so you get used to it, especially if you're not familiar with Windows. Anyway, so that's it. Don't forget to upload this, and I'll see you in chapter 4.